Welcome to the Southern Citizen Podcast. I'm your host, Hope Newsom Staples. On the show, I spend time talking to those I love to call Southern citizens. To be a Southern citizen in my book, you need only meet two requirements. Number one, you have to claim the American South as your homeland. And number two, you must be 75 years or older. During each episode, we sit down with these Southern citizens and listen in as they share about their lives. During today's episode, you'll hear from a few voices. As always, yours truly will do my best to lead the conversation. Next up, you'll hear from Rachel, aka Meemaw, a sassy, classy Southern citizen who happens to be my husband's grandmother. Along with Rachel, you will hear questions and commentary from Rachel's daughter, Kay, and you will also hear from her granddaughter, Rebecca. Over the last few years, Rachel has been living with progressive memory loss, so we thought it important to have her share her story. During our conversation, you may notice Rachel recounting stories more than once, but after spending time with her, I have decided that some things really are worth repeating. So, listen in as we elevate the voice of a true Southern citizen. Okay, y'all ready to get going? All right, Meemaw, I'm going to ask you some questions, okay?
Yes, dear.
All right, can you tell me your name, first of all, your full name?
Rachel Ann Parker O'Laughlin.
Thank you, okay. And when do you want to revise that? You want to change it? Okay, go ahead.
Rachel Ann Pitts Parker O'Laughlin.
Okay, perfect. And when and where were you born?
I was born in, it'd be Jones County.
Mm-hmm. And when was your birthday?
1944.
So that makes you 79?
That's right.
So here's my first question. I'm going to say a certain name. And when you hear this name, I want you to tell me the memory that pops into your mind, okay? Elvis Presley.
Oh, he was so well known, and all that musical and dancing and carrying on.
Mm-hmm. Did you love to listen to his music?
I listened to it when I could, but now my parents wasn't real crazy about him.
Oh.
They didn't ever say, no, you can't, but
Did you have any of his records at your house?
I don't think so. Well, if I had the records, I wouldn't have anything to play it.
Yes, you guys didn't have a record player? Okay, and then this is my next question, and then we can just kind of go from there. What is probably your very first or your earliest memory?
I was probably 2
mm-hmm.
or maybe 3.
Mm-hmm.
And had to do, I think it was a cat
mm-hmm.
that come in the house,
mm-hmm.
in the kitchen. And Mother said, get that cat out of here right now, and took the broom and swept the cat out. I mean, it didn't hurt it, but I thought it was,
Because you love animals, don't you?
I love animals.
Mm-hmm. So where was home? Where did you guys grow up?
In Pleasant Ridge Community.
Jones County?
Jones County. Mother and Daddy had 10 children, and I was next to the youngest. And now my brother Thomas passed away when he was 16.
Was he the oldest?
No. Cindy was the oldest,
mm-hmm.
and then Hazel, and then Buddy,
mm-hmm.
and then Thomas, and Thomas passed away at 16. And then Earl,
mm-hmm.
and then Helen, and then Julius, and then Rachel, and then Jane.
That was really good.
Meemaw, I'm so impressed with your memory.
Oh, I forgot Lucille.
And Lucille.
She
Okay.
was so. Why didn't you remind me? She was actually older than Thomas. She died when she was 29. She had a heart disease.
So what happened with Thomas?
Well, he was about 16. It was his heart, and
Okay.
never could do much. I mean, back then, now they could do something
mm-hmm.
about it, but
mm-hmm.
back then there was nothing they could do.
So what about Lucille?
Okay. Lucille was older than Thomas. Had 2 sons, Tommy and Bill. But then when she was 29, she passed away. She had a heart disease that nobody knew or whatever. So my parents raised the 2 boys.
Wow.
Lucille was pregnant.
So she was carrying a 3rd baby, and
Yes.
she passed. Were they able to deliver the baby, or?
No.
Okay.
Well, they wasn't expecting her to pass away.
So it was totally unexpected.
Unexpected. But it was her heart, so it's just, and they said they would, if they had known or even had thought, they could have, if not her life, at least saved the baby's life.
So her older 2 children were under 10, probably 10 years old, or?
They was younger. They was young. Well,
Did they remember? You think they have memories of their mama, or?
I'm sure Tommy does. And Bill does, of just what we have talked about, his mother, and everything. But now Tommy was 3 or 4.
Did they grow up knowing that their grandparents?
Yeah.
That
Yes.
they were their grandparents, and that
they
they
knew
were
they
being,
was their
Okay.
grandparents, and Mother and Dad had raised 2 boys
Tommy and Billy.
besides all the other children.
Were you still in the home when they came to live with
Oh,
y'all?
yes.
Were you a teenager, or?
I remember when Thomas passed away, my brother, and I was probably 12, 11, something like that. I can't remember now.
Of course.
Tell anybody.
It's been a while, though, huh? So when your brother Thomas passed away, did they have the funeral, like, in your home? Like, I know people used to have their wakes.
Yeah.
So he was in your home?
They had the body brought back to home,
Right.
and they,
like the
visitors
visitation.
came in.
Uh-huh.
But then they had the funeral at the, I think that they either had it at the church or either just at the cemetery.
Yes, ma'am. What church would it have been?
It
y'all
would have
grow
been
up?
Pleasant Ridge Baptist Church.
Is that the church you grew up in?
Yeah.
Okay. So you were the number 9 of 10 children.
Right.
And so your mama was having babies for 20 years, huh?
So she has a nephew that is older than her,
Okay, yes.
and she has a nephew that's her very same age.
So y'all grew up together. Like, you
Well,
really weren't their
yeah.
aunt. Y'all were like siblings, huh?
Yeah, because my nephew that's older than me was the age of my brother. Or, they might have been a few months of
Yeah.
difference. But anyway, and then my sister Lucille, she passed away. She had 2 children, and then she passed away because she had a heart disease. And
Just didn't
back
know.
then, they did not. The doctors had not found anything. Or
And actually, the doctors asked her husband, "Do you want me to save the mother or the child?"
yeah, right.
And he said the mother,
Mother.
but they both died.
Wow. If that would have been in the Laurel, Jones County area, Lucille was still living around here?
Yeah,
They all?
I guess it was I would say it would have been the old Masonite Hospital.
I was named after
So you're Karen, but you are in fact Karen Lucille.
I was named after Lucille because my mother was due with me about the time Lucille died.
She died in August, I think.
Okay,
and
and I
you
was due
born
in
in
October. Right. So she was pregnant, and when she died, Mama decided when I was born, she'd
And-
name me after
Okay,
Lucille,
because
her
Helen was
sister.
your
Yes.
okay, and Helen was your sister.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so we're making that connection. Was that hard on the family, or what was that
Oh, yes,
like losing
very
her?
hard losing because it was so
Like y'all had
Unex-
no clue that she was sick.
right. No,
Okay.
Even the doctors. I mean, she'd
Yeah.
been to the doctor because she was pregnant.
It's such a testament to your parents, though, for taking those children in and raising them as their own. And
Right.
all of you, huh, had to help raise those children.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because my grandparents also took in Cindy's children every summer, right?
Right.
And they stayed with her.
For her to work or
And
something.
Cindy lived in Florida, so the kids would come here every summer and stay with Mama.
Yes.
So did you guys live in a large home, Meemaw, where you grew up?
Not really. It was a old-fashioned
Yes, ma'am.
home. I mean,
Okay.
But y'all did have an outhouse, because I
Yes.
remember the outhouse.
Yeah.
So what was that situation?
Well, We had our outhouse, and if you had to go, you had you went.
They had the chickens. They had the smokehouse, and they always had meat hanging in there.
So were your parents farmers?
Well, my father worked at Mace Night at one. You know.
Oh, really?
one
Okay.
time. We did farm.
Or they farmed their
also.
land and then they had other
Yeah,
jobs?
always
Or
in
your
the
daddy?
garden. Yeah. Chickens that my mom would walk out there when it was time to cook a Sunday dinner to have a chicken and just grab a chicken and wring its neck.
Did you ever have to wring a chicken's neck?
No.
Meemaw, can you tell us what that process is? Like, how did your mom go out? Like, what is wringing a chicken's neck? What does that mean?
That means that she went out and she caught the chicken she wanted to cook, and she took it around the neck.
How many times do you have to wring it, you
I
think?
really don't know, but and then,
It would chase you all over the yard.
What? What do you mean? Like after it was dead?
Well, sometimes you chop their head off also, and they would run all over. They just kind of go crazy, and they're running around everywhere.
Decapitated?
Yes.
And then y'all would eat that chicken. Your mom
Well,
would prepare
She
it.
plucked those feathers, and
yeah.
That's a whole process, huh?
Well, she had to boil water
Yeah.
because you had to have the water real hot so that the feathers would come off and everything, and then you had to gut it. You won't do that one.
Sure, tell us. You can say whatever you want.
and also they had the pig pen, and they would kill the hogs, and they would
Yeah. Have a hog killing.
yes.
Yep. And they would.
You have to do that when it's real cold outside, or at least that's what I've always heard.
Well, yeah, but I mean,
But if you need a hog, you can just go. I mean,
Right.
it doesn't have to be cold, but I guess it is.
well, usually in the fall, or
Okay.
winter, when you killed them, or early spring, you didn't. When it was summertime, you did not.
So did you participate in any of that? Was that ever your chore to prepare chickens?
She was
or-
a fragile child. Mama didn't let her do a lot.
But I would stay work in the house either.
Okay. So what were your chores? What did you have to do in the home?
Sweep the floors, made beds. If there was any dishes to be washed, I washed them.
But you did not cook because Mama didn't want you in the kitchen because you were left-handed.
Being left-handed, my mother thought everything I did was wrong. Here, give that to me. Let me do that, and everything.
She just didn't know what to do with you, huh? As
Not
a
with my
left-handed.
left hand. After I grew up one day, I don't know when we got to talking, but anyway, I said, I just want you to know, when I was growing up, when I tried to cook and everything, and you would say, here, let me do that. You can't do anything with your left hand. I said, you really hurt my feelings. Well, I shouldn't ever, I didn't think about her.
You hurt her feelings, so when
I
you said
hurt
that.
her feelings. And she said, well, but now Mother did. She had ways that, I'm glad I don't have them, but I know somebody that does.
What was she kind of contrary about things, or she just like
She had her way.
And also, Mima, did you have polio when you were young?
When-
or they thought?
And they said either it happened when I was born or either I had polio. Back then, Mother said I was sick one time and everything. And I think maybe they did take me to a doctor, and the doctor, I forgot, maybe, didn't passed it off with something else and everything.
He missed the diagnosis.
So she did not go out a lot because also she was very sensitive to the sunshine.
Right.
So when the others went out to pick cotton and stuff, you never had to do that, did you?
No, I stayed in and cleaned house, and
You guys grew cotton on
Yeah.
your farm?
my dad worked at Mace Night, but we still grew cotton, had a garden, vegetables, and
Yeah.
everything in it. Raised beef. When they needed meat, they would kill a beef,
Right. Mm-hmm.
and everything. Same way with a pork.
Yeah.
Had pigs, and they would dip that pig in hot water, and it could be a all day job.
Well, it's a process, right? You have to
Right.
take certain steps, and you got to know what you're doing, huh?
And but my mother, far as when we was having, she was going to cook chicken.
Mm-hmm.
Now she could go out there in that yard and catch a chicken and wring its neck just as pretty as you please.
Man, I feel like we just don't have any skills anymore. Like, I could never. So did your parents own their property, or did y'all
Yes.
rent? Okay.
Yes.
So your dad was farming his own land.
And then he worked masonite.
So he was a busy man, huh?
Yes. He had a day shift, shift, and then night shift. Mother would fix him up a bag to take with him to eat, And it would take him 30, maybe longer, to come home.
30 minutes?
Mm-hmm.
So it was a pretty long drive, huh,
Yeah.
into town.
Right. And then,
Not by that package store.
and the same, it was a routine.
What was your dad's name?
William Hewlin Pitts.
He had to retire early because of his heart attacks.
Yeah.
But what was he called? What did he go by? Just William?
William Hewlin was his name. He went by Hewlin. Yes.
Okay. What was your mom's name?
Sarah
Mm-hmm.
Ann Pitts. But now Sarah ended up, way they pronounced it back then, it was Sadie.
Really?
That's what they ended up being called. Instead
So
of,
her name was Sarah, but they called her Sadie.
legally it was the only way she ever used her real name. She would have to,
Mm-hmm.
But she went by Sadie. Everybody knew Sadie.
And she always worked in the home?
Yeah, always in the home. And boy, was she stubborn.
Do you think that was hereditary, Meemaw? Are you stubborn?
Well, I think your granny inherited it, and my youngest sister inherited it.
But it skipped you somehow?
Of course.
Meemaw, when you're talking about Mamaw, who is Sadie, one thing I remember before she passed is her really long hair. Can you talk about her style?
Oh, yes. She plaited it,
What does that mean to plait?
braided. Back then we called it plaited. And she would roll it around on top of her head, because it would be way down to her waist.
Did she have a reason for not cutting her hair, or she just wanted it to be long?
Well, it was just something that women did back then, But now she did get it cut in later years, and then I think she hated it once she got it, cut
She missed it.
and all and everything. But she
And
was,
she died at 93, and it still had lots of dark in it.
yeah.
Wow.
And Mother, wore her hair long and plaited it and put it on top of her.
Did you ever have to help her with her hair?
No,
She all.
Well, Meemaw, as you're talking, I'm looking at you, and you kind of have short hair, but I've seen pictures of you growing up, and you had longer hair. But one thing I think about, and you've got on this beautiful hot pink sweatsuit today, and we talked earlier that it's part of your colors.
Yep.
So can you talk about what are colors? What does that mean? And tell us why fashion and style has been important to you.
I say involved. Met someone about color. And
Color
got,
Me Beautiful.
yeah. Thank you,
That's
dear.
the name of the program.
Color Me Beautiful.
Color Me Beautiful.
So I got involved about trying to find out what my colors were, and I found out what my colors were.
What are your colors?
Isn't it based on season? Like you're a particular season?
You're a
I was
winter.
a winter.
You're a winter?
Yeah. And that means that I wear just certain colors, but they need to be bright or not dull.
Is it
or
like
not
jewel tone colors?
Red,
Yeah,
hot pink,
black.
royal blue.
So what colors do you not wear?
I don't wear brown.
Okay.
Yellow.
Orange.
Orange.
Yeah, those are all yellow and orange are bright, but they're not your colors.
They're not my colors.
Because they're too warm. Are you more cool?
She
to-
wears
you're
cool
You're
colors.
cool tones.
I'm a cool.
okay.
I'm a cool kid.
You're- So you wear cool tones. Okay.
And I still try to.
Well, you're wearing like a magenta almost with like a beautiful blue under. I think those are your colors, huh?
Yeah. And
It matches your beautiful blue eyes.
Thank you, darling.
So when did you first start paying attention to your colors? Did you take like a test or something?
Well, I went to a party, but when I say party, you know, and that's what they did. The lady, would tell you. I mean, she got to talking about you're either a winter or a summer or a fall.
Did they? I've seen like online where people put fabric, they drape you
to see what colors. I mean,
and that's what she did.
And she would illustrate by taking someone and put their own colors up, and then let everybody, the women, look and everything. Then she would take it out or down and everything, put her colors, you know.
How old do you think you were when you first got your colors done?
You were probably
30.
Getting that.
Were you working at that point?
Mm-hmm.
You were out
So
of.
I must have been about 30 then.
Okay.
And I had my colors done, and after then,
That was all she wrote, huh?
that's all she wrote.
What colors do you think we are, starting with Mom? What is she a winter as
She
well?
most certainly is a winter.
Am I a winter or a summer?
You could be a summer, but you don't wear the colors for a winter, so I'm not sure.
Well, I know Hope is gonna not be a winter.
What am
What do
I?
you think she is?
Spring.
You think I'm a spring?
Is that more like pastels?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yeah.
I never wear pastels.
Well, now you could be a summer.
Well, I love to wear
What
black.
color eyes? Blue eyes?
I have blue eyes, yeah. I
What
like
do
to
you
wear
think,
dark
Kay?
colors.
no, she's not a winner.
You don't
Get
think
that?
she's a winner?
She's a loser.
She's
I'm not a winner, I'm a loser, me, Mom.
I think she's a spring.
A spring.
Yeah, I
probably.
think I really do think you're a spring.
You really inspire me. I want to have my colors done. We all need to do that.
We got to find that book, Color Me Beautiful. We've got
Yeah.
it. Meemaw's got the book.
I don't want to jump around, but can you at least tell us, where did you go to school? Like, can you tell us about your education?
Yes, as in grammar school, I went to Pleasant Ridge School, and then when I finished there in the 8th grade, I went to Ellisville High School, and I graduated from there.
So you graduated from Ellisville High School.
Ellisville High School.
And then after that, were you kind of done with school, or did you go to Jones?
No, I didn't go to
Okay.
Young. I took some special classes and whatever after
Okay.
I.
You went to work so
Yeah.
early.
Yeah. So what about that? What was your career, Meemaw?
I went to work at the Baptist Bible Book House.
So tell us about that.
Well, the owner's son
Uh-huh.
and I had started dating. Now, I ended up marrying him, but then we ended up divorcing a few years later.
Mm-hmm.
And, but anyway, and I asked a lady one day, came in the store. I said, "You always look like you just, you know." And she said, "There's a book, Color Me Beautiful." So I went to work trying to find me that book. And I tried over the years. Now it doesn't really matter. But over the years, especially after the bookstore was sold and we divorced, and I mean, you know. But anyway, I really started, even before I was divorced, I really started trying to, you know, where, and it's the truth.
Yeah.
If you're redheaded, there's certain colors looks
Yeah.
better on you.
She totally, once she learned Color Me Beautiful, she was out to change the world. That was her mission.
And like it was like
It really
very
was.
empowering.
Yes,
Huh?
Yeah.
yes.
You may feel great, and you may have the wrong color on. But when people looks at you, they say, "Well, she's just not feeling good today," you know, because the reflection of the colors and everything.
And she refused until maybe the last few years to ever wear anything that was not her color. She absolutely would not.
I still don't wear much.
That's right.
I cannot think of a single instance, Meemaw, in my lifetime of knowing you when you have worn something beyond your colors.
Well, what it is, if you got your colors on, then it does something to your face, like
Right.
brightens your face. I've seen go to something and see people that I know feels great, but they have the wrong colors on,
Yeah.
and they look like they felt bad. You don't have to spend lots of money.
So you just have to know what you're looking for.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, see, this is my color.
That is a wonder, and I love that. I love that color. Is Kay not wearing her color?
She would say I did not have my colors on, but
Okay.
because I have on leopard print.
But that is your signature. Maybe we can circle back to the Baptist Bible Book House. Beck, did you have a specific question about that?
I was going to say, so can you talk about what is the bookstore? What did you do there? And you mentioned getting connected via Larry Parker, whom you married. So tell us about working at the bookstore.
Well, we had biblical books, like Sunday school material or, this type, Mom Parker, she knew certain things she and Papa would not. It had to be, quote, biblical.
What was their background? Was he a pastor?
Yes.
The owner?
Mm-hmm.
And Mom Parker is Larry Parker's, that was your mother-in-law,
Yes.
right?
Yes. I met Larry.
I think that y'all met at a church function, maybe.
Well, that's why I
The
said
youth went. Okay.
There was a group. I think we may have got, some of us had gone out, go to get something to drink.
So he was 4 years older than you?
Yeah.
And what did Larry look like?
Well, he was tall.
Uh-huh.
He had red hair.
Straight hair?
Well, he ended up wearing it. Whoopee! But now at one time.
Like a fro. That's right.
Yeah.
Like really curly hair. A
Right.
very defining feature of this man.
Red. But now he didn't do that until later, after we married and everything.
But he was a redhead. He was a ginger.
He was a redhead. In fact, I'm not sure where his. Well, now Papa Parker's hair wasn't red, but it was a light. Now Mom Parker had dark black hair. She kept
Till
that
the day
way.
she died, and she was probably late 80s.
Mm-hmm.
But had a little help.
Oh, well.
But now, it wasn't at first, but then, when it started turning, she said, well, I'm going to just touch it up. That was her favorite words. I'm going to touch it up,
So Larry had a very distinct look, huh?
Yes.
A distinctive look, and you might say, I'm not sure if you agree, a distinctive personality.
Yes, he really did.
Tell us about Larry.
Well, he was ugly as they come.
Well, you must have liked something you saw.
How long were y'all married?
19 years.
A long time.
Long time.
Do you remember how he proposed to you? Like, was it a big to-do, or y'all just kind of said?
No, he proposed to me.
How'd he do it?
He come to the house.
Uh-huh.
He finally said, see if we can go get something to drink or something.
Mm-hmm.
Now, my parents loved him because they knew who his parents were and everything. So they thought that I would be safe, with him. But anyway, we went and to get something to drink, Because I said, what's wrong with you? And he said, I love you. Would you marry me?
What did you say?
What? Oh. I said, what do you mean get married? He said, I love you. I want to marry you.
Well, and he eventually convinced you.
But he was a wonderful husband most of our married life. His parents owned the bookstore.
Right.
That's how I got the job.
Was that your first job?
Yes.
Was working at that bookstore?
And I was just 17. His parents was wonderful to me. He was a happy-go-lucky. I mean, he always was happy and always very friendly.
One thing Meemaw did struggle with was
Speech.
yes.
Yeah.
And you might can tell her a little bit about that while you were growing up.
Yeah.
Well, when I was growing up now, I couldn't speak plain.
Yes, ma'am.
And later, I asked my mother, why didn't you get me help? Oh, it just broke Mother's heart.
What about the left-handed issue? Was that a issue in school, you being left-handed?
I had to turn the paper around. In one class, I would turn the paper around, and the teacher would make me set it back up right.
Yeah.
I mean, would not let me turn my paper around. See, being left-handed, that paper was wrong, for me. I made pretty good grades in school, but
And sometimes you would stay up all night studying, but then when you got to school,
it would be as if I had never seen those words, And I would, it would upset me so, but, she couldn't do anything in a classroom.
Yeah.
And since I did not speak plain in school, even in high school, I finally learned on my own to speak as plain as I do. And I'm not sure now if I speak plain or not.
I think you do great.
and one memory you have of riding the bus with that lunchroom worker that would talk.
Oh, yeah. We had a lunchroom workers.
We won't call her name.
No, I wouldn't dare. Lunchroom ladies, they would ride the school bus to school and then ride it home and everything. And, I'm a little bitty thing. And I sat down by this lunchroom worker,
An adult.
an adult. Also pretty close neighbor
Okay.
to us. And you know what she said to me?
What?
I probably was 9, 10. Lick your tongue out. Let me see if your tongue's tied.
Get back in that microphone and say that. What'd she say to you?
Lick out your tongue and let me see if your tongue tied. Just like that.
What a heifer, huh?
Out loud.
What did you do? Did you cry?
I didn't. I did not cry.
Oh, good for you.
But you know what? From the day after then, from that day,
She has never forgotten it.
I have never forgot. And I would never say anything to a child. But I would never make fun
No.
of a child. I hated that woman growing up, literally.
Did you tell your mom and dad what she said to you or not?
I really don't think I did. When I was older, I did.
As far as her seizures, I don't think you had your first seizure till you were about 32 or something
Yeah.
like that.
Well-
And you were driving, you had a wreck and went off the embankment, and then they decided you had had a seizure, and then you did start having them.
Maybe we can go back to the Baptist Bible Book House for a second. How long did you work there?
Well, I started working there because my brother, Buddy, was a minister. I don't know exactly how, but anyway, and he knew in fact, his wife, Betty, was related to some of the Musgroves. And the Musgrove was married to Larry's father. In fact, Larry's mother was a Musgrove. And anyway, so after I started dating Larry or knew him or whatever, the bookstore needed someone to help. And so naturally, he said, I'm going to tell Mama that she needs to get you to come and work.
Did Larry work there too? Okay.
Not until after we bought it.
Right.
Okay. So when did y'all purchase that business?
Well, it was, do you know what the date?
Well, after y'all got married.
Yeah, it was
Or
after
just,
we
you know,
got
about-
married.
yeah.
After we got married and
It's okay if you don't know the exact
and I
year.
worked there.
Yeah.
And somewhere I've got it written down.
Did his parents just want to retire,
They retired.
basically?
They
and then-
retired.
okay. And he just...
But I went to work there, and then Larry went to work there. So we both was working.
And y'all owned it until you got the divorce.
Yes.
Which was probably around what year?
About
you
20
think?
years.
Yeah.
19.
Almost 20 years.
Well, y'all were married about 20 years.
Yeah.
You got a divorce probably in 79 or 80, right?
It was later than that, wasn't it?
It might have been about 81.
So you and Larry got married in the 60s?
63.
It might have been 82. I keep going up, but it
Yeah.
wouldn't have been after 82.
Yeah.
So y'all got married in 1963, you and Larry? Okay. And stayed married about 19 or 20 years?
Yeah. And had a son,
Okay, yeah, that's right. Your son's name is what?
James Dean.
James Dean. James Dean.
Born on Valentine's Day.
Oh, his birthday's coming up, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I remember going to the Baptist Bible Book House as a little girl, but I bet that would have been after maybe you guys. It would have been. I remember going in the 90s to the bookstore.
Yeah, we had already sold it.
So after you sold the bookstore, what did you?
I went to work at Nico, Northern Electric,
What did you do there?
bookkeeping and
Like
Yeah.
administrative things, kind of.
like a secretary.
So, I
or
mean, yeah.
something.
Well, I didn't want to say secretary. I was trying to make it sound, you know.
Yeah, well, that's okay.
little.
It doesn't matter. But anyway, then Larry and I divorced because the grass looked greener to him on the other side. Not me, but him. And then he found out years later the grass was not greener. But in life, you really can't go back. And I know Larry was very, very sorry. But he started going to the coast fishing, say the Pascagoula River or something. And then he ends up meeting.
He caught one finally.
Because y'all had a boat, right? There was.
They had a camp at the river.
Yeah, well,
what
he
started
bought it,
right.
yeah.
Yeah. Did you kind of get suspicious?
Not, well, I finally did, but at first I didn't. I mean, it was nothing for him to go. And I think when he first started going, he really was going out fishing and everything. But then he bought a fishing boat. He wanted this camp on the river. I would work at the bookstore where went fishing. I mean, and at first he did, but then he wanted to sell the bookstore. I wasn't, oh no, I am not selling the bookstore.
Yeah.
I am not selling the bookstore. But I couldn't run it by myself. Anyway, we ended up selling it.
Mima, I think of you when I was young as being entrepreneurial, a traveling saleswoman, just very independent. Can you talk about selling paper supplies?
I worked at Office Supply, but then I went to work at Standard.
What did you do in that job at Standard? What was your role?
Well, I called on customers, go out into I had a route or a list, I'll go into an office and identify myself and everything.
Yeah.
Standard Office Supply.
Where all did you go? Bay Springs?
Bay Springs, Raleigh, Laurel.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know exactly why, but I think someone else already had the other territory.
So was it like doctor's offices or
Yeah.
stores, different things?
Schools?
Schools,
Oh, I never thought about going into schools.
county offices, and schools, was really
Yeah.
a
Big thing,
big
schools.
thing.
So you
Because
enjoyed that job?
very, very much.
Yeah, you were out and about.
Out and about. The only time I didn't is when it was so hot in the summertime. You going in and out. I mean,
That's right.
You get cool and you go back out in the sun.
Always kept little Debbie's in your trunk.
Yep, I did.
Can you talk about, was it typical for females to be salespeople?
Some of these little towns, I think I was the first female salesman they had ever seen, salesperson they had ever seen,
And you were the only female salesman at Standard, weren't you?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. I was
really?
the only one at Standard, yeah. And
That is so cool, Mima. I love that.
well, I don't know. I was the only one. Customer told me one day, lady, well, you're the only one that knows anything about what we're needing,
Yeah.
So
So you said you got into Hallmark around this time. Can you tell us about your love for Hallmark?
I loved Hallmark, but always, did. I was trying to remember where I went in.
Well, when you started working at Office Supply, they sold Hallmark ornaments there. Well, and because they gave away a tree that was full of Hallmark ornaments. And remember, Mama won that tree.
Yeah,
And that year is
But
when we
now-
all realized what Hallmark ornaments were.
yeah.
Did you gain a lot of knowledge about like different kinds of paper and all that kinds of stuff? Like, did you know like the ins and outs of office supplies?
I had to know everything about it.
Can you tell us anything interesting about paper or?
Well, you got 20 pound, what do they call it, 20 pound. You got a 16 pound a 16-pound is thicker. You can buy, thinner, but you can buy it cheaper
Okay.
than a 20-pound. And then certain things are printed on, even today, are printed on 16-pound paper, 20-pound of paper.
And also, if you told her what kind of printer you had, she would just about tell you what ink you needed. I mean, she knew all that.
So you had to learn all that, huh? That is so cool.
You influenced your grandchildren too, because I remember being not even 10 years old and you gave me some high quality cardstock business cards with my name and maybe my address and a butterfly. Do you remember that? It was a butterfly.
I do. I had it.
I was very official because of you, Mima. I was like a 9-year-old.
Well, great.
I've been having some trouble with my printer. I probably need to let you take a look at it. I may have the wrong ink in it. You might could tell me, huh?
Well, you put ink in it?
Yeah. My cartridge. It may not be the right
Well,
size.
do you clean
What?
the printer?
I didn't know that was a thing. No, ma'am. You're supposed to clean your printer?
Well, and that will get the old stuff off of.
Okay,
You said you keep having problems.
It was giving me an error the other day, so I need to let you look at my printer.
Well, I don't know if I know anything about what brand is it?
Canon?
Canon.
Yeah.
Canon.
Is that a pretty good brand?
Probably so.
Okay.
I mean, it's been a few years since I.
Well, I want her to say something about her Hallmark obsession.
Please speak
For
to
sure,
that.
because you love once you ever saw Hallmark, that was it. No
Yes.
turning back. You wanted all of them.
So, okay, yes. I want to talk about that. Like, I know, so Christmas. Have you always loved Christmas, or did it begin with Hallmark?
What-
Or is that
She's
a
always loved Christmas.
I loved Christmas once I was grown. I mean,
Yeah, so you've always enjoyed Christmas,
Yeah.
but you really, once you discovered Hallmark ornaments.
it was on.
So every year, what would you do with for the Hallmark Christmas season?
I would buy everything I could get my hands on. I had money to pay for, a series or whatever.
And your obsession with Santa Claus.
I was fascinated with items that was made of Santa Claus.
Did that start at a young age, too?
Well, probably not until I got to working and saw things like that, and
How many would you say you have now?
about 10.
Santas?
I have no idea.
Mima, I counted this probably 2 decades ago. It was over 1,000. Do you remember when the Laurel Leader Call came to your house, took pictures, and did a news story about you having Santa Clauses?
So tell us about your home. How was it? You had it all Santas, right, in your house? Yeah,
I left them out year round.
year
didn't I?
round. Did you ever have a favorite Santa?
I loved them all, but now I probably had one or two favorites. I probably still got one or two.
So when you were working for Standard Office, you'd be out and about, and you would maybe do a little shopping here and there.
Well, I would, have to check everything out.
On your lunch break.
Everybody knew 2 things about her, all of her customers. One, she was always going to be dressed from head to toe. She'd have on the same color earrings and shoes to match her dress.
Okay.
And that she loved Santa Clauses or Hallmark.
As a businesswoman, and back then they really wasn't that many, I don't think, that went out and called them customers like I did, And you have to look very professional, but you can't look sexy. Did I say the wrong thing?
That was great.
Uh,
Did you ever have any men try to talk to you? Like, did they know you were single back in those days?
Yeah, I mean, but
Mima was like, of course.
but what I mean is,
Well, you were an independent single woman, right? During that
businesswoman. But now I treated them Mr. So and so.
Oh, of course. I know
everything,
that.
And if it was a business that husband and wife were both involved,
yes.
I always went to the wife.
Mm-hmm.
Never, ever. You never go, if it's husband-wife business, you
Right.
never go to the husband before you talk to the wife and see if she needs anything. And
People trusted you, huh?
I think they did. I think they realized that I wasn't out to rip them off or
Right.
anything like that, And then I tried, if I sold you something and you had a problem with it, I immediately wanted to know what you wanted me to do, if you want me to replace it. And 99% of the time, that's what the customer would want. Replace it,
Yeah.
But I had one customer one time when I told him I was leaving. She said, I don't know what I'm going to do. You were the only one we could trust. But I tried to be very honest with my customers.
Yeah.
I probably may have lost business, quote, by not, but then I kept businesses because they knew if I told them something, I have, at one point, would have someone to ask me to come by. We want to talk to you about a copy machine, something like that. And when we'd be talking to them, I wouldn't talk in front of none of their customers or anything. And they would ask me about certain machines.
Because they were spending a lot of money, huh? I mean, that was major
Right.
investments for their business, huh?
I literally would tell them what I thought. I wanted to be honest
Yeah.
and fair to everybody.
Well, let me ask you this. Wasn't there a certain restaurant that you would always go to? Am I making that
Tammy's.
up? Tammy's.
You could go in Tammy's and order sandwiches and
Yeah.
chicken and
And it was in North Laurel.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you would go in Tammy's a lot, right? For lunch and such, or breakfast.
Well, of the mornings, sometimes I would stop and drink coffee before because they was open.
Did you ever make friends with people in Tammy's, or
Well, yes. I mean, they knew who I was and
did you
everything.
ever catch anyone's eye in
No.
Tammy's?
No.
Well, I heard
I think
different.
he caught one eye, really. A certain Yankee.
A certain damn Yankee.
Tell us about
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, I did. You've talking about Tom, yeah. But what I meant was, I did not do anything to quote catch these men's eyes.
You didn't have to, Meemaw, apparently.
I was 100% a lady.
Oh, I never will ever doubt that. That's why they noticed you, right? That's why.
Because she would be bright and colorful.
Yeah.
And I wore my colors.
So tell us about meeting Tom. How did that happen?
He actually wanted to meet her, and he had someone.
He saw her in Tammy's?
When she came in Tammy's, the person in Tammy's called him and said she's here.
Yeah.
And he lived right there by Tammy's, and he'd come over there.
Yeah.
He had never spoken to you before then. He would just see you come in there, we think.
He would see me coming in. I mean, I saw this man with a dozen women sitting over there.
So you had noticed him as well, but
Well,
you
I mean-
didn't think much about him?
I didn't, no. And he would be over there, and they would be laughing and carrying on and everything.
So, okay, the day y'all finally met, somebody called and said she's here. And so Tom came.
And he sat down, come up, and I thought, goodness, because his hair really needed combing. And I could tell he dressed in a hurry,
Oh.
And he said, I'm Tom O'Loughlin. I want to take you out to eat.
Wow.
Just like that, And I thought, who are you? I said, I don't know you, but anyway. And he said, you're going to know me. Ooh. But anyway, he had been seeing me in Tammy's when I would go in for my coffee break. But he was always sitting over there with a group of women. And they were laughing and carrying on and whatever. And it never dawned on me that he noticed me and everything.
Where was Tom from?
New York,
Yeah.
New Jersey.
Yeah. Did you already know that, or he told you about himself after
He told
y'all-
me about himself.
Let me ask you, do you remember like your first date with Tom? So after he said, I'm going to take you out, what happened then? Tell us about y'all's relationship.
I said, you're going to take me out? And he said, I'm going to take you out Sunday for lunch.
Mhm.
Or I think he said dinner.
Okay.
He took me out to eat, and very, very nice. I mean, and everything. He always was. I mean,
Yeah.
I think he was nice to my family, and
Tell us about how Tom would dress. How was he always dressed?
always dressed.
What would he wear?
Sports coats and dress pants and
No,
never.
I've never even thought about that. I've never seen Tom in anything but slacks.
Tom
slacks.
Yeah, so he might have told you this too, Meemaw, but Tom used to tell me jeans were too casual.
Yeah.
And that I should most especially not wear ripped jeans. I know that really got on his nerves.
And maybe a girl.
Because you wore 'em. She was a lady,
Right.
so she was supposed to dress like a lady.
Sadly, I failed on all fronts.
Well, Tom was from a different time, right?
Yeah.
What do you know about Tom's background? From New York, right?
Yeah,
You think, or New
from
Jersey?
New York.
New Jersey.
New Jersey.
Bayonne, New Jersey, right? Thomas Nicholas O'Laughlin.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he told us once, Meemaw, that he grew up in New Jersey but went to school in New York and had to worked in New York, and he passed the Statue of Liberty every day on his way to school.
Yeah.
Wow.
For some reason, he lived with his grandmother. His brother lived with his mother.
As far as I know, he never found out why. That he lived with his grandmother, but his brother lived with his mother.
Mm-hmm. So, and he grew up. He was a war veteran, right?
Yes.
Tom. Okay. Do you know? He served in World War II, correct? Okay.
He was a prisoner of war.
He was a
He
prisoner
was
of
prisoner
war.
of war. And,
Because Tom was a little bit older than you, right?
17 years.
25.
Oh,
Meemaw said, "What?"
yeah.
17 was that other husband.
Oh, we skipped over one husband, didn't we, Meemaw? We're not going to talk about that.
25.
Okay. He was 19 years older.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what he was. Tom was born in 1925. Okay, Rebecca, you got.
Meemaw, can you talk more about Tom's war experience? I know that played a role in y'all's relationship. Some of the impacts. Maybe he suffered from PTSD or.
Probably. Then he had nightmares.
So he had a hard time speaking about his time in the war, correct?
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Well, being a prisoner of war is, and in fact, I never knew for certain. I think he was supposed to be like, when I say undercover, I think he had another job.
Like an intelligence kind of thing?
Yeah,
Like
I think he had, I think he had something else that he did.
Well, Meemaw, that's interesting because I recently, I think of Tom as retiring from the Army, but I recently found a certificate where it credits him having naval service. So that's a separate branch of the military. Army, Navy.
so he was in the Navy and the Army?
I just realized that
So he
within the
started
last
out
2 months.
in the Army, maybe, enlisted.
Yeah.
But had a certificate of years of service, like 25 years in the Navy. And I have never heard Tom talk about the Navy, Meemaw.
That's what
I
I'm saying.
feel like you might be onto something there.
Yeah, I really believe it. I mean, when he was so sick,
Right.
he talked. He would talk about, well, I know he was prisoner of war,
Right.
and he never talked to me about any of that. But then when he was like reliving it, right?
He was having kind of like flashbacks.
Y'all saw it.
From people or felt like his life was in danger many times. And he said lots of things that made me think he was.
Because you all spent a lot of time together those
yes,
last
yes.
year and a
And he
half.
had lots of nightmares.
Well, Meemaw, did he tell you how he got from New York to Jones County, Mississippi? How did that happen?
Did he hear you were down here and
Yeah,
hit the
I was
road?
down here.
I think he followed a woman.
He followed a woman down here, or he came,
another woman, right?
another woman. He came.
But he was looking for her.
He came down here, I think, to see her, and I think he decided he would stay.
Right.
they were sharing a house.
Uh-huh.
But the only way, I mean, I would have never noticed him, but he was in Tammy's, and I would stop in there, get something to drink, coffee, or maybe some breakfast or whatever, before I went out on my route. And he's sitting over here in the corner with a man with maybe 4 or 5 women around him, you know, laughing and carrying on, and I didn't really pay that much attention. I literally did not pay.
He was gathering intelligence on you.
He is performing recon, Meemaw.
But
A reconnaissance mission at Tammy's. Well, Meemaw, let me, I'm going to circle back to Tom's military just because I want to make sure we cover everything. Yes. I know he didn't like talking about it, but he did get comfortable with my dad and talked a little bit about some of his service. And so one thing I think is incredible, he was a guard at the Nuremberg trials, and he says that one of his prisoners that he got to know really well was a Nazi officer by the name of Rudolf Hess, who was very close to Hitler. And Tom told me once about Hess that if he didn't know the larger context, he would have just been really impressed because he was such a smart man. And I thought that was really interesting.
When Tom, when he was dying, he relived lots of things. And, I mean, I heard things that he had never said to me or anything, you know.
Well, and I think it's important to talk about after Tom came back from his war experience, he went on to... He dealt with some alcoholism, but Rebecca, you may be able to speak to.
Yeah. So Tom has been in or was in recovery his entire life as we knew him. Even in his 90s, probably a month before he went into the hospital and didn't leave, he was still attending meetings, AA meetings, and notably serving as a sponsor, Meemaw. So can you talk about some of the people Tom helped? So Tom was 33 when he had his last drink. So that would have meant he had 60 plus years of sobriety, which, as y'all know, is just absolutely incredible.
Right. So Tom passed in his 94. Wow, I don't think I realized he was that young when he.
Yeah.
Tom gave me a wooden plaque. I think it's from his AA group, and they gave him like the Serenity Prayer, which is really important in AA. It was like his 50th anniversary of being alcohol free, and that's hanging in my house.
Oh, I know. Even up into his last year, he was still meeting. They would call him, he would meet them and talk to him on the phone while he was in the hospital. I was there when someone called him, and he talked to them on the phone, encouraging them and talking to them.
So that was a huge part of his life. And at his funeral, and y'all may know more, I remember being at Memory Chapel and there being men who showed up, and those were some men that he had sponsored, maybe?
Yeah, that's right. 'Cause,
they were his pallbearers, right?
Right, that's right. And I had a conversation with several of them, and you know, they just talked about Tom's impact and teaching them to take it one day at a time, just focusing on things they can control. All the mechanics of recovery.
Yeah. I remember at the graveside, one of them told me, I think Jonathan and I were standing there, and he said Tom was an elder statesman. And I've never forgotten him saying that. I always thought that was the highest compliment, you know, for Tom.
Well, see, Tom would have seen him talk to someone over the telephone at midnight, at, you know, whatever.
Right.
If they called him, you know. But then I have seen him when he was so mad, he would throw the phone down at home. I mean, you know, because someone else had called and so that he had been working with and all had been drinking. You know. Now, Tom's deal was you do not take no social drink, no kind of alcohol,
like there was
none
no
whatsoever,
exceptions.
no exception.
He was tough.
He was.
He gave me his little black book. There's a big book, and then there's a little black book, and these are all like recovery terms right now. But he gave me the little book.
What is it?
And he also
What's the little black book?
You open it every day, and it has usually like a scripture type devotional may not be a Bible scripture, but AA was founded through Christians.
Okay.
But every day it gives you something to focus on, like a
Okay.
meditation, and then of course the serenity prayer, which is where you're relying on a higher power to
Right.
control things outside of your control.
Right.
So Tom is very much in the old school sort of AA brand, and he told me once when we were talking about addiction, he said, the kids these days are too soft, and they did not have adherence to an absolute prohibition of ingesting alcohol or some substance. And I remember, he was adamant, that is not the way.
Yep.
And I believed him.
But he wouldn't. I don't care what. I could always tell when that phone rung and he answered it. All right, somebody has,
Right.
And I heard him one night. It was the middle of the night or whatever. No, you had one drink. You're still an alcoholic, or something like that. And he was so mad at. He told me one time that an alcoholic could come to him anytime, day or night, and I know they have. They did, and but he said if you take one drink, a mixed drink or anything, then you're off the wagon.
I was going to say he was so tough, real hard, but he had a heart of gold.
Yeah.
He would do anything for him. And I remember that one man would come from North Carolina, like every month or every other month, and he would come and get Tom, and they would spend the day together. He did that for a long time while they lived next door.
He had what did he call you, Rebecca? The kid. What? Again.
Tom called me the kid.
The kid, yeah.
It was a very Yankee term of endearment, I think.
Because y'all would write letters to each other or cards.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah, Tom and I were pen pals.
And how did he refer to the post office? Didn't he have a?
I was actually looking at cards from Tom this week.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
I'm not.
He would didn't you say he would call it the mule or something?
Maybe
Or
because
okay.
he had a lot of terms. Because I was reading cards, and he's Irish Catholic, O'Laughlin, and he would incorporate a lot of
Irish
very
Catholic.
proud Irish Catholic. Meanwhile, I remember walking in y'all's bedroom one day, and it kind of caught me off guard because there was a picture of the Pope. I was like, what?
Yep.
But Tom
Another
always
man.
wore the gold chain with the
Right.
cross necklace, and has the Irish Catholic background. But look, when he would write me letters, he would refer to me as the kid. That was his nickname. But he would also call me a Shaney lass, which I'm not sure what that means.
I don't know what Shaney.
I don't know it. I may not be pronouncing the Gaelic either because it's very different than English. But I've had to Google a lot of the terms. It's like straight Gaelic.
I love that.
It's so great. But he would write letters and just
Y'all would talk on the phone too,
yeah,
right?
we would talk on the phone.
Oh, he loved Rebecca now.
That's right.
And Kay and Sam.
Oh, what did he call you, Meemaw?
Lady.
Lady. Oh.
Yeah.
And
Lady.
y'all would always like to go out to eat, right?
Yeah.
That was y'all's thing. What would y'all do every day? Y'all would go. Tom would always want to go check his PO box, right?
Yeah. But now, we went out to eat because he wanted to.
You cooked, right? You were a good cook.
Well, I could cook, but
he
didn't-
liked to get out and go places.
Well, he did not want me to, he would get up and start cleaning up the house.
Wow.
I
Every single day, y'all
every
going to
day.
go eat breakfast,
Well,
you're going to go
we
eat
eat
dinner,
done.
and then you'd eat supper.
Mm-hmm.
But then finally he quit, and y'all just went twice.
Yeah.
Instead of,
Oh, y'all would go out 3 times a
he
day?
always wanted to eat out. He just liked to. But one thing they always did is they had a notebook that stayed on the table, and y'all had a running note. Like you would be leaving to go to work, and you would say, take out the garbage or vacuum or feed the dogs.
Yeah.
And then he would write either I did this or it was always I love you, lady. Yeah. And
I did not
and
know
y'all-
about
and
that.
That just went on for books. Notebooks just full of a running notes.
Did you have a certain name for him? What did you call Tom?
I was calling him honey or darling, but
What was that other thing
Tom.
you would call him sometimes when he was being stubborn?
yeah, you damn Yankee.
Okay.
And she meant
And
it.
I meant it, and he
I understand.
knew I meant it.
You know, I think you and Tom got married around the time me and Jonathan got married. In 2011, maybe, or
Married in 2010.
10.
okay. Did I get married in 2000?
Yeah.
I got married in 2011.
We came to your.
Yeah,
y'all's
that was the
wedding.
first time I think I'd ever seen Tom. Is I can just remember him being in that sunroom, like fully dressed in like this awesome suit.
Seersucker blue and white suit.
Oh,
Yeah.
Hey, Meemaw, speaking of Tom's attire, so we talked about his gold necklace, kind of a slick back hair, button-up shirts, always looking nice. And I always wondered if he was in the mafia, and that's how he got down here. What you think about that, Meemaw?
I really don't believe he was.
Is he running from the law?
He told me he worked in street gangs when he was very young, just
Yeah,
helping.
very young.
Yeah.
And everything.
Maybe he was in that kind of program. What's it called? Where they like relocate you?
Yeah,
And, like,
witness protection.
Witness protection.
I have this theory he like turned state's witness
I
in
think
some
he did,
mafia
too.
dealing.
I think he did.
Got
too.
relocated to rural Mississippi.
I think
probably
he
something
did.
to
I
that,
really
y'all.
do think he did.
Wow.
You know, and I mean, I don't have any proof.
Right.
He seemed to have a
naturally.
steady stream of income that always.
That is true. Yeah, there was always.
Yeah.
I think that's such the I don't really know the word to describe Tom, but the fact that there's so many things about him that we'll just never know,
Right.
I think makes him just seem like a larger than life character in my mind for the short time that I was able to know
But
him.
see, now he was a prisoner of war.
Well, and Tom passed on the anniversary, Rebecca, help me, of
So he passed on D-Day, I think in June 6th in 2019, which seemed like a poetry,
Yeah.
Meemaw.
Did you have anything else, Rebecca, on your list
The
of
only
questions?
other thing, well, not Tom related. You're such a creative, and you have written poems throughout your life. So, and maybe you just think they're doodles, but I've gotten my hands on a few of them, and they're so good, Meemaw.
Poems. Oh yeah,
you do.
I used to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember you giving us cards and you wrote. Yeah.
Did you get a poem from me?
Uh-huh. One year you gave us, and I think you read them all to us. It was on,
I what?
You read the
them.
poems.
Yeah.
You gave everyone a card, and you read their poem out loud.
Mm-hmm. But Tom was a damn Yankee, but he was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Or to me, he was.
Yeah.
I mean, he loved Kay and Sam and Rebecca. He
Mm-hmm.
would thought Rebecca was his own child.
I know she was the
It
favorite.
definitely was the favorite.
But now he loved Sam. He loved Kay. He loved Rebecca.
He loved John
He loved-
Caleb. He really.
He loved John Caleb.
Mhm.
He loved Jonathan, but he didn't know how.
I know.
He didn't know how to, you know. I would say, well, talk to him, Tom, just like you were talking to me, or
Yeah.
you know, and everything. But he was
Yeah.
a damn Yankee.
A damn Yankee.
That's all there are to it. He was. I cannot imagine my life without him. I mean, you know, at the time, because he did a wonder. He did wonders for me.
He loved Rachel.
Yeah, I know he loved me.
My lady.
Yeah. And,
Damn Yankee and My Lady.
Yep.
A love story for the history book.
right. But you know, I didn't try to impress him. A bunch of ladies did, or women, you know, and
Not ladies. They weren't
well,
ladies.
No, but
Hussies. Hussies.
well, but anyway, and I didn't. I mean, I didn't. When I met him, I didn't try to impress him or anything.
Yeah.
He saw me exactly like
That's
I
right,
was.
Mima.
And
You have any final thoughts or anything you would like to tell us that we maybe haven't touched on?
Meemaw taught children's church for as long as I lived with her.
Really?
Shannon Grove Baptist Church.
Mhm.
She was very good in it.
I didn't know that.
Mhm.
That is a ministry.
well, every church should have it, in my opinion.
Right.
You know,
mhm.
but some churches do not have anything like
It's
that.
important.
you know,
It's really
And,
important.
Well, I don't want us to end without acknowledging that, speaking of teaching children, you have always said you taught me everything I know.
That's right.
And the older I get, the more I'm realizing that is so true.
And one other thing, about me, Ma. Before Santa Clauses, there were frogs. And
I did
she
not know
had
that.
frogs. She started collecting frogs probably, I don't know. I'm not even sure, but you had a frog everything.
Mm-hmm.
Rings, earrings, bracelets, dishes, rugs, everything. If it was a
Anything.
frog,
If
you
it-
had
Meemaw,
it.
when you commit, right? When you go all, it's on, right? Once you decide.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I really appreciate that about you. I think that says a lot about your personality, huh?
And Meemaw's always been a caretaker.
Because you cared for your mama, right, Meemaw?
Yeah, she always took care of
You took care.
everybody.
You're kind of the story keeper of your family, right? And I know we talked about this earlier, but are you the last sibling left, right, from your family? So that's why I thought it was important to talk to you, because I feel like you have a lot of things and a lot of stories and experiences that no one else has. And I think that's really special.
But now I told you I could not speak plain.
Right.
Growing up and everything. And
And look at you now.
look at me now.
You can't be quiet.
Yeah.
I think your mama would be proud of you.
Oh, she was. Rachel was the favorite.
But Mother knew. I mean, always if they told me something,
Mm-hmm.
I did it.
Or if they ever needed anything, the first person they called was her. And
Yeah.
she always would take care of it. Always.
But it was a large family.
Yeah.
It was a great life. I realize now, but maybe at the time. Kay, you can't, when you come and you walked in, you said, "I'm not ever going back." Did that really happen? Yeah. You said, "I'm not ever going back," and she didn't.
Will you briefly tell about that experience?
Oh, well, I've stayed with her off and on since I was born. When I was 10, I moved to Florida. And then Rachel was going to come and get me. No, I was just going to spend 2 weeks with Rachel one summer. And I was 12 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And Jeff and I rode the Greyhound bus.
Jeff, your brother.
Yes. From Fort Myers, Florida to here. And Larry picked us up at the bus station. And when I got to her house, I said, "I'm never going back." And I never went back.
And you
And I
took care of her.
Yes.
We did what we could with her.
Well, Meemaw, you've been a caretaker and you provided a great life for my mom, who provided a great life for me.
That's right.
So your influence is just being passed down. Even if you couldn't influence her, she's stubborn.
I
Not
know.
like you or me. We're not.
Right,
But
right.
Mom is.
When she said, "I'm never going back," Larry and I thought, well, when it gets time, she'll
Yeah.
get homesick and
You really didn't
everything.
believe her.
No.
But also, Meemaw, for the kids growing up, every single thing they did, she was at it. Everything. Every ball game, every clogging, every beauty pageant, she was at everything.
I believe it.
And I'm so glad that you did Color Me Beautiful, because that was really clutch in helping me pick out pageant color dresses. Meemaw always told me what my colors were at the
That is so
pageant store.
smart.
Everybody has what I'm going to call is a color.
Right. Mm-hmm.
When I learned
Mm-hmm.
about it,
That was it. That was all she wrote, right?
yep, I
love it.
don't know if I have anything in my closet that's not my color.
I highly doubt it.
The only thing she did is she started wearing silver jewelry because winter people wear silver jewelry.
Oh.
And when she met Tom, he started giving her gold jewelry. And so she completely changed to gold.
For Tom, huh?
I did it for Tom, but Tom was a wonderful husband. Now he loved Kay and Rebecca and Sam.
He didn't love us.
Jonathan. Well, yeah. I think he said, "I don't know how to talk
Yeah.
to him."
Even though they probably weren't very close, I know Jonathan had a high respect for Tom and always thought the world of him.
Well, Tom thought the world of Jonathan too.
And Tom was always at any event we had. He came to my children's birthday parties, and
Which is so big, too, because Tom did not.
yeah,
He was very awkward around any kind of like that. Because
Yeah.
he didn't like all the warm and fuzzy, lovey, because he just didn't know how to respond to
yeah.
that.
Meemaw, thank you so much for your time today.
You're more than welcome.
And we may have to do this again because there's probably more things we need to talk about, don't you think?
Could be.
She's like non-committal.
She's pointing at Kay.
I'll start keeping notes. If I think of something, I'll write it.
We're going to make some notes. If you think of something, you write it down. Or if Miss Kay or Rebecca, we'll do it again. I've had
It's fun.
a couple
Learn
different
stuff out of it.
sessions with the same people, and usually when the minute we press pause, we say we should have talked about this or we should have talked about that. But I appreciate you doing this.
Well, thank you.
If a smile, blessed Savior, as we go not let us fail or stumble as we go along God's way. Lead us on, oh Lord Jesus, Lord that happy home high. Hide us in thy blood so precious.